Hold on now, people. Now, listen to this. Now, watch this next scene that's coming up. I'm going to pause it for a second, and I want you to tell me, once you've listened to what the Raider's got to say, tell me what's wrong with this picture.
Most remarkable sequences as well. We're seeing the Himalayas before and after. Before,
they're talking about COVID.
Couldn't see them.
Now, what's wrong with this picture?
Screen there. That was before it was just like smog, basically. And then look at that, crystal clear views.
Right, now, what she's trying to say is that the picture to the left is one scene. So this is one picture of the Himalayas taken by a photographer or a station camera. And this is the same station camera taking a picture however many years later during lockdown. Now, look at this. You're telling me you can see there's two brothers down here, clear as day. Pink t-shirt, blue t-shirt, there's their Himalayas and it's foggy. They're saying this is the global warming. So you're telling me during COVID lockdown, however many years later after this original picture was took, these same two brothers come back to the Himalayas wearing the same clothes, a pink t-shirt, blue t-shirt, pink t-shirt, blue t-shirt, right? And now all of a sudden, look how beautiful that their Himalayas view. These people think we are stupid. I'm not saying I don't believe in global, I do. I'm not saying anything like that. All I'm talking to you about is why are they trying to gas me and tell me that these are two different pictures taken on different days when it clearly is not. Don't ask me why I noticed that. It's the kind of thing I noticed. But tell me what you think.
They really are making strides with all that climate change, aren't they? It must be the banning of the straws. Hang on a minute. What's this? This is a diver in the Philippines picking up dirty, horrible, used masks off the coral. You know, those billions of disposable masks just discarded in the sea. For people like Greta and alike to completely ignore. She must be busy doing something else.
How has Joe Biden done on climate issues in his first 50 days in office? What grade would you give him?
Well, you shouldn't take that from me. I'm just a teenager, so I don't have the mandate to sort of give grades like that. My opinions on this doesn't matter. You should rather look at the science.
That's right. She's busy complaining about the fact that not enough is being done with climate change, and we should be looking at the science. But as she said, she's just a teenager. What does she know, eh? I tell you what, for a teenager, she's 18 now, by the way, as well, right? I mean, I know she still looks 10, but she's 18. For an 18-year-old, she's certainly perfected the art of passive aggression, isn't she?
What would you like to see him do to fight climate change that he isn't doing, that he said he won't do? Because his administration is saying we've set up a climate office, we've set up a climate czar, we've re-signed Paris, we're conserving more land, we're undoing a lot of what Donald Trump did. What would you like to see him do that he's not doing?
I would just like him to basically just treat the climate crisis like a crisis.
Nothing will ever be enough, and while she continues to complain about that fact, she'll completely ignore all the dirty, horrible masks floating in the sea like the ones strapped around her chin. But I suppose it depends on the agenda and what they choose to ignore.
Ms. Thunberg, thank you for your involvement here today. I commend you for your willingness to testify and get involved with public policy. In the past, when you're talking about climate change, you have said, quote, I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. Is there what particular study or scientific report did you read that made you come to this conclusion?
Thank you for your question. First of all, let me just clear that those are metaphors. In speeches, you often use metaphors. Of course, I don't mean literally that I want people to panic. So there was no scientific study that made me come to that conclusion.
Oh, okay, so you didn't say that.
I did, but it's the metaphor that you often use in speeches.
Metaphor for what? I mean, how do you, what I'm asking on panic, I want you to panic. What does that, tell me what you meant by that.
By that, I mean that I want people to step out of their comfort zones. Yeah, and to not just see the climate crisis as a far distant threat, but rather as something that is impacting people already today, and people to step out of their comfort zones to start taking real action.
Okay. What in your opinion is on the ppm parts per million, what is acceptable, permissible on CO2 emissions in your opinion? What actual amount do you think is permissible?
Well, I mean, of course, there is no magic amount that says that this is an okay amount. The science doesn't really work that way.
You know, they were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion,
no.
though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
But the former commercial pilot isn't some adrenaline junkie courting danger. He's a cloud seeder, chasing this menacing storm to squeeze out extra rain for the drought-stricken farmland below.
As a pilot going through school, you're taught to avoid thunderstorms.
This is Craig's job, firing chemicals into the clouds in a controversial attempt to modify the weather. He's literally a rainmaker. Cloud seeding has been used around the world for decades.
Oh, I see the flare.
Yeah.
It looks like he's painting the sky.
The flares are shooting millions of silver iodide and calcium chloride particles into the cloud, where they collide with drops of water and ice and produce even more moisture. Then, usually within 20 minutes...
So what is this white smoky stuff over here?
That's rain.
Oh, that's rain.
Yeah, that's rain.
We shall propose further cooperative effort between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
Why is that jet flying so close to our house? At last, those planes are flying where they belong.
That's right. Over the homes of poor people. Poor people. Poor people.
Oh, it's you, Stan. What kind of favor?
I abused my CIA powers to make that superstorm.
You made this storm? Lives were destroyed.
Now kiss, you two lovebirds, and put some mustard on it.
Aren't you straight? Yes, but I'm terrified of these people. They can control the weather.
Despite the cost, however, NASA does need to test these engines once in a while. So they built this place in the wetlands of Mississippi. The first thing they installed was a huge loudspeaker, through which they played white noise to simulate the sound of a rocket. They then sent a number of trucks in different directions out into the wilderness, and the drivers were ordered to stop when the noise levels became acceptable. This gave them an imaginary boundary line, and anyone living on the inside of it was offered a simple choice. Stay, and you'll never hear another television program as long as you live. Or take the NASA shilling and get out. No one stayed, and NASA ended up with exactly what it wanted. 125,000 acres of nothing. They even had to move 5 cemeteries, because the noise they were planning on making would wake the dead. Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you, it's raining. That's unbelievable. Oh. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
And now the weather forecast with Greta Thunberg. Hot! That was the weather with Greta Thunberg.
The world is alive.